what your design philosophy is, or what your kind of architectural philosophy is. What drives your work?
So there's a number of different angles to that question. I think what you mentioned in the introduction was this idea of more with less. And more with less, again, is this play on words where Mies van der Rohe famously said, less is more. So you have to do as little as possible as an intervention. I think Philip Johnson said, less is bore. And Ramkola said all sorts of things. So it is kind of an ongoing philosophical debate amongst architects. And I think Buckminster Fuller actually coined this terminology of more with less. And so more means for us, we don't want to, in this age of sustainability and being mindful of resources and all these kind of socio-economic issues, we don't want to stop doing what we're doing. So we want to produce more architecture, we want to develop more communities, we want to help more people, we want to create more cities, but we have to do it increasingly with less energy, less materials, and essentially more technology and less natural resources. And that leads to this idea of more with less. That could mean that we build a tower with the least amount of materials, with the least amount of embedded energy, but with the most amount of spatial diversity and offering to the people. So that is one of the aspects. Another important aspect of our architecture is this research in nature and combining these ideas from nature and technology to form contemporary architecture. So when you look at nature as a precedent, and architects have always looked at nature for thousands of years, since the pyramids, then nature has all these principles that have evolved over millions of years, and nature is kind of perfect. So the principles of nature are always valid and optimized. When you think about, the sun, the moon, the stars, about how trees grow, about how rivers flow, how flowers blossom, etc., etc. When you look at things like coral reefs, ecosystems where millions of different species thrive together in an ecosystem and mutually respecting each other and delivering nutrients and energy to each other and grow together. And on the other hand, technology is this thing that has also always been around us. If you define technology, as the person in the cave kind of starting the first fire, that was a technological breakthrough, or the invention of the wheel. But the technology changes increasingly more and more rapidly. And that was always the case over the last 2,000 years, but even in the last 10 years or so, when you think about communication technology, when you think about our phones that are now incredible computers, if you just think about how we now talk to each other with virtual backgrounds and over the internet and different time zones, the way that we travel, the way that we work, the way that the whole society works. It's a constant change in technology. And so we think that if you combine these ancient and everlasting, always valid principles of nature with these constantly, rapidly changing new technologies, and you combine them into something new, into like a hybrid between nature and technology, then you have a chance at building contemporary architecture that is always contemporary. So you refer to the past, you refer to the present, you refer to the future, but you always combine natural principles with the latest technologies.